Let me maybe start with my spiel about the fact that I see on my timeline people express disappointment with OpenAI's 12 days of releases, because some of them see what OpenAI releases. For example, yesterday I thought was like super cool. Yesterday, OpenAI released 1-800-ChatGPT, which is a phone number that you can call and ChatGPT answers. And some people build up this, I don't know, hype idea for themselves in their head that OpenAI will release a new model every day. And this new model will be better than the last model every day. And I saw some disappointment, and people are like, whoa, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, people need to understand that what we just got is incredible on its own right. And if you take just one release and put it in a vacuum a week ago, a month ago even, just this one release, you can call ChatGPT for free and it will answer with voice, and this voice will be interruptible, and it's going to be the advanced voice mode for free. People would have lost their shit, I don't know, a month ago. I was just like, remind folks that advanced voice mode came to us in our applications 2 months ago, if that. And advanced voice mode was announced, and we only got access in our applications. Alpha folks, testers got access during the summer, and then during the spring we got access in applications. And now it's like free for everyone in the continental United States and Canada, and soon around the world, for 15 minutes a month, I believe. And I'm seeing disappointment in the chat, and I'm like, what are you talking about, folks? OpenAI is just like shipping incredible things one after another. And not only OpenAI, like all the major labs. Fucking Microsoft just shipped Copilot for free to 150 million developers. Like, what is going on? So absolutely banger weeks, and definitely we're here to celebrate all of this in the spirit of Christmas, in the spirit of getting presents. And I will assure you of this one thing. We will try as much as possible to highlight here on this show with smiles and with a lot of excitement, because this is what ThursdAI is all about. As far as I can keep the excitement going, ThursdAI is all about the excitement.
What I'm really excited about is that AVM, the advanced voice mode, now has web search. So you can use your phone, call it, and ask something that it looks up for you on the web over the phone.
Yeah.
That is a cool thing.
Absolutely. I actually haven't been able to ask it to look up. Like, as for maybe during the same day that it didn't roll out yet, I asked it to go look up, and I cannot access the web. I don't know, maybe folks in comments tell us if your advanced voice mode already can search the web. For me, advanced voice mode wasn't able to search the web yet, but maybe it's like a temporary thing.
Got something first in Germany.
Maybe, yeah, you got something first in Germany. That's super cool. Yeah, folks, we got an exciting show today. So it's time for us to do the TLDR, which we haven't done in a while. Here's everything that we're going to talk about, almost everything, outside of the new stuff that OpenAI is going to announce and the breaking news, because I think we have a lot of breaking news today. Here's everything that we know that we're going to talk about ahead of time in the show of December 19th for ThursdAI. Let's start with open source. Wolfram, it's been a while since we've covered open source. It's been a while. Like the last 2 weeks, we've been crazy with updates from big companies. Let's finally talk about some open source. I think the biggest story in open source is going to be Meta Apollo 7B, because we got this incredible large multimodal models with state-of-the-art video understanding, long context from Meta Apollo 7B, and then they pulled them. So incredible models and able to understand like long context video, 7 billion parameter, like state of the art. And then Meta pulled them. Some lawyers in Meta decided that, nope, that's too good to be true. And basically pulled the wizard dilemma on us. Hopefully not, but still didn't bring it back. But our community is amazing. We're going to talk about Apollo 7B afterwards. Microsoft promised us Phi 4. If you guys remember last week, Thursday was insane. And I was like losing my mind, I would say. This is the PG-13 term to say, where I was losing last Thursday, because like, just everybody was coming out with a bunch of stuff, and when Microsoft said, hey, we're also releasing 5.4 on Thursday last week, I was like, no, Microsoft, no, I already sent ThursdAI, no, stop it. Not today, Microsoft. But yes, Phi 4, if you guys remember, we talked about tiny storage, we talked about Phi smaller models getting better and better, increasingly better. They announced Phi 4, Phi with a PH, yeah, Phi 4. Microsoft announced and released Phi 4 only on Azure Foundry, and Now, basically, they promised us this week to release this on Hugging Face as well. So already some other folks released. So we're going to talk about 5.4. It's pretty dope. Cohere, our friends at Cohere released Command R. Wolfram, you actually told me about this one, so definitely let's chat about this one. We love Cohere. Command R are great models, multilingual as well, great at multilinguality, and great for RAG and re-ranking, and definitely great embedding models as well. Falcon from the UAE Technological Institute has dropped, I don't know, like 7,000 models, including a Mamba one. So 1 billion, 3 billion, 7 billion, 10 billion parameters base and instruct, and planning for a multimodal version soon as well. So shout out to Falcon. Previously, they released one of the biggest models that nobody could run. And also, I just quickly wanted to shout out that IBM also drops models. I haven't seen any metrics or evals, but worth just at least shouting out.
I have some.
Oh, interesting. All right, cool. That's dope. So IBM updates Granite 3.1 plus embedding models as well. And I believe that this is all for open source LLM. That's a lot. For 1 week, that's like a lot of stuff. And I believe that there's going to be breaking news as well. So that's for open source LLMs. Moving on to big companies and APIs, there's so much in the API area of the big companies that we're going to just hopefully be able to cover all of it. The biggest thing in the big companies' API stuff is, I think, the OpenAI release of O1 in the API access. I think this is huge. One of the biggest things that happened in the 12 days of releases is OpenAI said, hey, we are having a mini dev day. And one of the releases was mini dev day for OpenAI. And they have released O1, actually a new version of O1. So if you guys remember last week, they said, hey, ta-da, we're giving you O1. This was it wasn't last week, it was the week before. Jesus, the weeks are flying. Basically, they said O1 and O1 Pro, if you guys remember. This was like the ThursdAI 2 weeks ago before Europe's. This is a newer model. Since then, they've trained already a newer model of O1. This one is O1 2024 1217, and this one is available via API. And not only is this one is available with 200,000 context tokens, and it supports structure outputs and vision and function calling and system messages. They're now renamed developer messages. We're going to talk about all of this. Don't let me get carried away in the TLDR. But this is a new model supported in the API and has some cool things like you can finally tune how much it thinks and reasons. I love that one. We're going to talk about this. I'll even show some practical examples of how this reasoning effort affects thinking, and that's super cool. The other huge news in big companies, APIs, LLMs, etc., is tools as well. The Microsoft makes Copilot, the coding assistant, free after 3 years, I believe, maybe 4 years. I don't quite remember how old Copilot is. I want to say 3, but time flies super quick. So folks in the comments, if you remember when Copilot came out, or if you want to like super quick fact check me on this, please let me know when Copilot was released. I want to say 3 years. We're at 2024. I think it came out in 2021. But yeah, fact check me please on this. Basically, Copilot is now free up to a certain extent. There's a free tier. It doesn't mean like always free, but they're opening up Copilot with 2 models, GPT-4o and Claude Sonnet 3.5, and up to a certain limit. I think we're going to take a look at the 2,000 code completions and 50 chat requests, including extensions, including a bunch of other stuff. I think that's incredible. I think that many folks around the world don't have access to many of these tools, and this is going to unlock just a lot of stuff. And also, some of us use Cursor. This is a lot of the Cursor features now have moved back into Copilot, etc. OpenAI also continued the 12 days of releases, so there's a bunch of stuff in there, including, like I told you, one that says ChatGPT. One huge one that I believe is a huge one, that search is now free for all users. There's around 300 million users for OpenAI ChatGPT, and now all of them are able to access the web via ChatGPT. I think that's also incredibly huge. And also for our fine-tuning friends, we talked about fine-tuning a lot on the show, and DPO is something we know from the open source community. If we bring up folks from the open source community, we know that DPO is something that is very well preferred. We've seen this from many many top fine tunes that lead the charge. The DPO, there's versions of DPO models that are beating other fine tunes. OpenAI has finally caught up, and now you can do DPO, which stands for direct preference optimization. You can do DPO fine tuning on the OpenAI interface for 4.0, I believe, in 4.0 mini. I want to say that this is it for the big companies, LLMs. Wolfram, correct me if I missed any big things, and folks in the comments, please correct me if I missed any big things as well.
Yeah, that's it, according to my list as well.
Yeah, feels like this is very big. I believe that like the new O1, we can talk about only this like for at least half an hour. Copilot is huge as well. In this week's buzz, I want to tell you about our eval scores that's coming up and get you excited about that. And also I will show off a new playground capability we have. And also I did an evaluation for the new O1 reasoning effort feature. And I will actually show you. It took me yesterday super quick to do this. And I'll show you practically how it looks and how you can actually see differences. Very practical, in your face example of how I'm using Weave to actually see differences of different features. And of course, vision and video. We'll have Blaine Brown join us and talk about Google releasing VEO 2, a state-of-the-art video model that is incredibly visually consistent and adheres to your prompts and just mind-blowing in, I don't know, this one video I know, Wolfram, if you saw with the steak knife cutting, if this came across your feed, it's just unbelievable. Just
and that was from Will Smith eating noodles that worked very well.
Yes, and finally we broke through the noodle eating barrier. Just unbelievable. So VEO2.
And turtles. I saw your turtle too. I saw your turtle too.
And turtles that are made of potato chips. Absolutely, I will add that one maybe to the space. Google released VEO 2, including, by the way, Imagen 3. So Imagen 3 is a image model from Google that have been tested for a while. I actually had access to some for a minute. Imagen 3 and VEO 2 were both released in preview, and we're going to chat about VEO 2. We almost got the authors of VEO 2, but they went on vacation. Well deserved, folks, deserved. Well, hopefully we'll get to chat with you after they come back. Huon Video is what it's called. HY Video from Tencent is now getting distilled. So not only is it running faster, because we said like once it comes out, it's running faster. It's already running faster on FAL. Now it's getting distilled with fast Hunyuan down to 6 steps for 40 steps. As always, folks release something in the open source, and then the open source community gets it together. So now it's getting super fast with fast Hunyuan. And also Kling 1.6. I believe that between the top 3, I would say VEO, Sora, and Kling are the top 3 right now. I want to say those are, we'll ask Blaine. Once Blaine joins. So this is the TLDR. Voice and audio, super quick. We have a bunch of other stuff. OpenAI also announced updates to real-time audio improvements. You guys know that I love me some real-time audio improvements. They announced a bunch of stuff. WebRTC support. WebRTC support is crazy. Not only is this crazy, OpenAI hired the guy, Justin Umberti, who created the WebRTC standard. WebRTC stands for real-time communication. They just literally hired the guy who created the whole format, the whole protocol, and he lended like the support for a real-time communication. It makes it so much simpler. You can do it from the web. You can do it from a web page. They literally tweeted out all of the code that's needed to do real-time communication. It's much simpler than other protocols, and they just send the support, and it's incredible. They made it 60% cheaper. We're going to chat about this as well. 60% cheaper is crazy. 11 Labs landed a new Flash model that's 75 millisecond generation for their new voice TTS. 75 milliseconds is insanely fast, maybe too fast. And also we have a new local multimodal LLM called Omni Audio from Nexa, which is pretty cool. And I think that if we get to this is going to be incredibly eye-opening.
I have one more for voice and audio, by the way.
Yeah, tell us.
Where the Moonshine web.
Oh, yes.
Real-time speech recognition running locally in the browser. And it's supposed to be faster and more accurate than Whisper.
From our friends in Nova from Transformers.js. Yeah, Moonshine is super cool. Hopefully we'll have a chance to take a look at Moonshine. And AI art and diffusion and 3D. I added this because of the 3D. Genesis was announced yesterday. It's a collaboration between just an insane amount of labs and NVIDIA. It's an open source generative 3D physics engine. I hope we're going to... Everybody's buzzing about this, but I think the video is a little bit overhypey, but we'll see. We'll see. It's just like an absolutely incredible video and a physics platform, but it's not like a Sora image generation, video generation thing. So we'll definitely show about Genesis. We're going to talk about this, but they didn't release what they showed. So we'll talk about this. If we get to tools, we're gonna chat about tools. I think that this is all, folks. This is way too much of what we're able to talk about, because I think in open source we're gonna have some breaking news, and in OpenAI we also have other OpenAI stuff. All right, I think this is a lot for one show. We're not gonna get to all of it, but we're gonna try. So let's start with open source, and I think Wolfram, we're gonna have to cut here because we also have Sora. So let's run through open source. Yeah, let's run to open source. But first, folks, we haven't started the show officially, so let's start the show officially because I missed the opening sound. All right, welcome back to the show. And I want to say, God damn it. God damn it. Logan, God damn it. Okay, folks, we got breaking news. We got breaking news from Logan Kilpatrick from Google. You were here first. Let's do it. We now have, we just opened the show, Logan. We just opened the show. AI breaking news. Coming at you only on ThursdAI. Folks, we got breaking news from Google because Google just now announced reasoning. Do you guys remember O1, where O1 is a reasoning model? So right now, they're introducing from Google Gemini 2.0 Flash Thinking, a new experimental model that unlocks stronger reasoning capabilities and shows its thoughts. The model plans with thoughts visible and can solve complex problems with flash speeds. This is so cool. Let's go test it out. And I also saw that Noam Shazir posted about this, right? I think I have Noam Shazir on notifications, and he posted about this. Yes! Noam posted, we've been thinking about how to improve model reasoning and explainability. Introducing Gemini 2 Flash Thinking, experimental model trained to think out loud, leading to stronger reasoning performance. Excited to get this first model into the hands of developers to try it out. Folks, let's open up Gemini 2 Flash Thinking Experimental. Wolfram, you know we're going to try it out. We're going to try out. Oh, I have
ice cubes.
Ice cubes, let's go. Definitely ice cubes.
Hey, Niston.
Ice cubes, I think.
Hey, what's up?
We need like a different one, but Beth plays four ice cubes. Let's do it. I think Gemini, the regular one, solves ice cubes. We need a different one. Listen, I think we're getting some feedback from you, but let's do it. Let's see the thinking, folks. We're getting breaking news. Thinking. Let's go. I'm thinking for too long, and I think it's getting it wrong. It's gonna get it wrong. It's got it wrong, yes, but it thought for a long time. All right, folks. So for folks who are not watching, let me just tell you what's going on here. The thinking model of Gemini thinking just went through a lot of thinking and started. I actually didn't give it the options, Wolfram. I think that this is maybe one of the things. But Gemini 2.0 Flash Thinking Experimental with 32,000 context length just went through a lot of thinking and showed the thought. So there's the same collapsing thing that we know and love from the test time compute, inference time compute, and we see the thinking happening within the kind of the drop down of the experimental, and it went to a whole calculation sidetracking, which we know that this question for Beth places ice cubes in the frying pan, blah blah blah. The whole point of this question is to confuse LLMs to start calculating, whereas LLMs who understand a little bit of physics understand that ice cubes melt. And when the question asks how many whole ice cubes can be found in the pan at the end of third minute, none whole ice cubes can be found because ice cubes melt. So yeah, this is, but we can see the thinking. I want to try and see.
It worked for me. I did the same. Temperature 0 was mine. I think you kept it at 1, but it got the right answer when I did the exact same question.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
let's try temp 0.
Yeah, start with temp 0 with the options as well. If temp 0.
Do I have it? Oh, I have it. Okay, I'm trying the Martian question.
Try the Martian question. Let's try another prompt, but then we'll definitely move on. But this is so cool, folks. This is so cool because we are getting a thinking experimental model from Google as well, from the GOAT himself, Noam Shazir, the lead author, you could say, on the Transformers paper, the guy who left character to go back to Google, and it looks like he posted this. So
he got it
like,
right. He actually got it right. Yeah. It's a pretty complicated question. I don't know. I can probably share screen. No, you got it right. You got it right. It's like the largest mountain in the solar system. If you build Shinkansen, a maglev train along the slope of it, how long would the rail track need to be so that if we accelerate a train at a comfortable 2 Gs of speed, how long would the rail track need to be for that train to be launched at escape velocity from the Martian gravity well and to be launched at the Martian orbital speed? So it's actually it's a pretty complex multi-step problem. It got it. Sonnet gets it. 32B QQ gets it, but it takes a few times. This actually got it. The answer is right. 324.
This model is also available via API as well, Nissan. So like we can actually like plug it in and test it out.
It's 32K.
Like O1.
So that's the only problem. It's not.
It's not huge.
It's not long context. But
so
it's getting it.
Yeah. So yeah, the ice cubes with temperature 0 also, I also got the question with 29 seconds. And also, just to make sure that we're seeing, it feels like we're seeing the whole thinking trace. Unlike OpenAI, who's hiding the thinking trace, folks. It looks like we're getting all of it. This is so dope, folks. Thinking.
Thumbs up.
Thumbs up, absolutely. I'm excited by this, folks. Folks in the comments, we're getting a live preview of a new feature and the thinking. Okay, so definitely breaking news, definitely exciting breaking news today. Google is on fire. God damn it. Google is on fire this week, this last few weeks. There's OpenAI is going to announce 12 days. We're just going to keep shipping through the holidays and just absolutely destroy. I'm just going to add Blaine to this. Welcome, Blaine, to the show. We're going to talk about other stuff that Google is on fire with. But, all right, folks, here you have it. Gemini 2 Flash Thinking Experimental. We're going to test it out with more incredible stuff. But also, because it has code, we can actually go and compare it with other things and run it through other evals. So that's super dope. Exciting. Very excited. Very excited. But I think we move on back to open source because we have a show to run. Right, folks, to sum up, Gemini 2 Flash Thinking Experimental. I would say they need to work on the naming a little bit because this is like a mouthful. Gemini 2.0 Flash Thinking Experimental. O1 sounds cool. Yeah, let's run to the open source stuff that we have before the breaking news. Nista, I want to talk about Meta Apollo super quick because I know that you got very excited about it and got very upset about it not releasing. What did we get with Meta Apollo before it got pulled? Let's talk about that. I think this is the important piece.
I just had a bad dream at 4 a.m. and woke up and people are complaining the model is taken off. So then I went on a bunch of hosting providers like Replicate and others, and it wasn't there. I pulled a whole bunch of Dockers. And then I found the CDNs, like the content delivery networks, and I was able to find it. It turned out someone else had already found it a few hours ago. It would have saved a lot of time. But this was a video recognition model. And I don't know why they pulled it down. Someone pointed out when I posted that
it was it was a 7 billion parameter,
and the 3B and the 1.52, I think.
Yeah.
Which recognizes long videos, which is incredible. Like a very tiny 7 billion parameter and a 3 billion parameter that recognizes long, I think an hour long, even more. Incredible. Like on the surface of this, we're getting like an incredible model. We're supposed to get an incredible model. Apache 2 license, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it was Apache 2, but the 3 billion model, original model from Qwen was a research license. So there was a licensing conflict, which could be an explanation for pull.
Wait, I wanna shout out what you just said. What I found out later after this was posted, that it was based on Qwen. Like
Yeah,
Meta released a model. Meta, like the whole huge Meta with llamas and everything, they released a model that was based on our friends Quen's, was that Quen VL? No, Quen 2.5, right?
It's Quen 2.5 Siglip SO400. So in the model I posted, the Apollonia, I just renamed it. It was an Apache license, so I just renamed it and re-put an MIT license. There's nothing illegal or bad going on, in case people are wondering. It's just like we're just trying to keep the source code up, and we're trolling on Twitter, but it's not. There's nothing actually bad. So it was based on Quen 2.5 7B instruct intern video 2 Siglip SO400 Pet 14. Okay, they were using the Quen vision model for the 7B. And that might have been why, I don't know, maybe someone complained, like, why are you using a Quen model? But the Quen's a fantastic model. The 7B is Apache licensed. The 7B, they can use it and do whatever. So maybe they could have a case for pulling the 3B because they didn't have the license for it. That we could understand. But the 7B is Apache 2.0 license, so there's no reason to pull that one. And it's also the only one I uploaded, but they're both up now. So the Barbara Streisand effect.
So Apollo 3B outperforming most existing 7 billion parameter model. Impressive 55 score on long video bench, and 7B is state of the art compared to like other 7B on video MME. And so basically, if you want to understand long videos, these models are for you. And they have been re-uploaded by Nistan with Apollonia, and Goodies here, I believe, also re-uploaded them. The community provides, folks. The community provides, even if Meta decided to do a wizard dilemma on us and pull them back, which they will not do. They also got #1 paper of the day, so the paper was released. I don't believe the paper was pulled, right? The paper is still... Is the paper still up? Or
paper is still up.
Okay. Archive, the paper's still up. So like the learnings are still there. The learnings, once you post the weights on the hub and they're in the Apache 2 license, it's really hard to take them down. Yep, folks, lesson 4.
Funny that they released a Quen 7B fine-tune, basically,
I think it's super cool. Like
I think it makes a great model. I know the model is going to be very good. Yeah, I might actually have to write some code on people on how to run this. There was a Docker in there, but I did not look at it because I just woke up, posted, went back to sleep. Twitter blew up, woke up again. There's like literally like a 1-sentence description on it. Yeah, we should play around with this because it looks like they made a very good Quen 2. And we don't have any other tool that does this. We don't, especially if you're doing stuff around the desktop. You know how like now you can just feed it to Gemini, which I'm assuming is just like Flash 8B with a lot of, because you can feed or just Flash 2.0, you can just feed a long context window.
Yeah, I don't believe the open source has any comparison. I think the Gemini 2 is like most of what people use for long context video.
Yeah, so this is the only tool we actually have, and it's worth writing some public code for this. Yeah. If somebody else has done something with it, just hit us up or just post it. We'll repost it for you. I'm sure there's going to be more, and we should also have a reading paper on it. But yeah, that's about it.
Alrighty, right, folks. So the next things we should talk about is, let's decide. I think Wolfram, you suggested Cohere command R7B. I think that's a dope model. Let's chat about this super quick, because I think that absolutely this is a good one to chat about. Cohere we know Cohere very well. We've talked about Command R Plus, great models. The Nistan friends of yours, you visited them, I think, and buddied up with Aidan. Also, by the way, we're talking about authors of the Transformers paper, another one there. So they released Command R7B, smallest, fastest, and final model. Oh, I didn't know there's a final one of the R series. They are focusing on enterprise large language models. They're focusing on building models to put on enterprise context. 7B, obviously, the point of it is to run super fast and on-prem for folks. I actually don't know the license of this, but I believe this is a enterprise license that you can get from Cohere, I believe, right?
It's CC by NC 4.0 from now. So, but they said, at least Aidan said on Twitter, that if you're a startup and you want to use it, just ask them.
Yeah,
it's mostly they're mainly protecting it because their business is enterprise customers and they can't just give that away. But I think they're pretty pretty easy to work with. I'm looking at the benchmarks. They're actually looking pretty good. I haven't tried this one.
Yeah, let's look at benchmarks. So just like on the numbers, context of 128, and the capabilities fine-tuning is what they're like excelling for business apps. Obviously, multilingual support. We have a citation is, I think that, like what Cohere is very good at is obviously like all of the RAG ecosystem. They have the ranking and a bunch of other stuff. So citation verified retrieval augmented generation. So not only are their models like focused on RAG, they're focused on RAG with like citation verification as well. So you know exactly what they pulled, reasoning and tool use and agentic behavior. And also they have a bunch of specific evals for those things. They're not just like saying we're good at this. And this model is obviously, you can run this on like lower end GPUs and MacBooks or even CPUs. Let's run through some evals. IF eval is at 77%, so instruction following at 77, compared to like Gemma at 74 and Ministral at 58. Very, very nice. Obviously, this is in the 7 billion range. 26 at Math Hard. I don't know why they added this, but this is like they added Gemma at 0.2 at Math Hard. Come on. This is like upsetting. MMLU Pro 28 compared to Gemma 32. So efficiency at math, this is like impressive compared to other ones at this range. So yeah, great model, great small model to use. Cohere obviously knows what they're doing for those tasks, especially for tool use in the Gorilla benchmark or like a Berkeley function calling leaderboard. They're getting overall performance that's great. Shout out to Cohere. Let me add LDJ here as well. Let's see if he has any comments about Cohere. And yeah, optimized for enterprise use. Many folks prefer it over Gemma, which is great. But I'm sure that Gemma will come out with something now that the folks at Google have Omar over there working on Gemma and cooking. So hopefully we'll see some more open source. By the way, Google is great and been on fire. Where's the open source from Google is what I'm saying. It's time for them to also join this category, and it looks like they will soon. Next on open source, and I'm running through this, folks. We have a bunch to talk about. Next, and maybe last on open source, let's talk about, we'll skip Falcon because Falcon is cool. Falcon 3 came out. I didn't see like a lot of evals that I was impressed with, but I know that Falcon is out of the UAE. Many folks just want to do business with there, so using Falcon models and license is great.
I could just add one info, because it did impress me with the benchmarks. I was running the MMLU Pro.
Falcon did?
Yeah.
Oh,
MMLU okay. Pro, computer science only benchmark, but it got 61.22%, which put it above, for example, the Mistral small model from Mistral. So it was pretty good. So they did, I think they put the MMLU Pro on there as well on their page. Yeah. Do you see it? Yeah. So of course it was just a CS benchmark, so it was higher than the average. But that was pretty good, and it impressed me because I have also tested Granite when we get to it, but that was much worse.
Yeah. So I will shout out Falcon because they add Quen. And we always say that, hey, where's Quen? Where's Quen? When people are releasing evals without Quen, adding Quen 2.5 and 2, that's nice. Highlighting that you have 36 when Quen has 37. That I don't love when you don't highlight the highest score in your evals. That's not the right way to release eval like dashboard. So I don't love that. But besides this, it looks dope. So yeah, shout out to TII, Technological Innovation Institute out of UAE, for releasing the Falcon and the Mamba architecture as well. So that's dope. They released 1 billion, 3 billion, 7 billion, and 10 billion parameter models, plus the Mamba variant as well, which is great because it's always great to see that folks are still pursuing the transformer alternatives while we also wait. I think that we're done with open source, folks. Let's talk about the huge news out of Google for this week before we switch forward. And for this, I think that we're going to, let me stop the screen. I think the hugest news out of Google, outside the thinking model that we just got, was obviously that this week they said, hey, you remember Sora? What is that? I think that now it's time for me to welcome our friend Blaine Brown, that goes under the nickname Blizane, who got access this week to VEO2 and then promptly went super viral with the steak cutting, the 8 virtual steak. Blaine, welcome to the show. I just wanted to highlight that I immediately thought of you because like last week we talked about Sora, and I think that let's introduce VEO2 to the stage to folks who, I think it was hard to be on the Twitter like timeline and not see videos of VEO2.
Yeah, I'd agree. It was a revolutionary jump above. I think it's what everybody was expecting Sora to be. We saw some fantastic videos since February or so from Sora, and to the point where they were bragging about kind of the physics engine behind it and understanding more natural motion, that sort of thing. And I think we got the turbo version of when they released that, because the model's too heavy, I think, at this point. But back to Google, the VEO2 is really phenomenal. It's still a slot machine to some degree. It's AI, right? You're not going to get a perfect output every time, but I was blown away when I started seeing some folks do some early comparisons, and I was like, let's see how well it does with this steak. I've done this a few times on a few other models, and so I gave it the prompt, and it runs, as people may have seen, it runs 4 simultaneously, and 3 of them were decent and probably better than the others, but the one was just phenomenal. It was almost perfect. You almost couldn't tell it was AI at all. And so since then, those that have been paying attention have probably seen others doing other kind of bake-offs and other, just all kinds of examples. And I just unbelievably impressed.
Here it is. The juiciness of the steak.
Yeah, and the way it moves with the knife, it's like
the reflection. And we're just seeing, for folks who are like on the space, we're seeing all of the comparisons that the blend compared. Sora's steak looks dope, but something in the physics there doesn't like quite work for me.
Yeah, I mean, I gave them each 4 a chance to do it their best after 4 prompts. I didn't want to spend a whole day doing a full slot machine of 50 prompts and then picking the best one. Maybe I could have got some better results from some of the competitors. But yeah, you can tell that the initial kind of quality and color saturation for some of these is really good. Mm-hmm. It's just that physics of trying to make it look real. Like it's just not moving quite right on some of them. But I've seen the same thing with walking physics and driving. I posted one last night, I think, where it's a Porsche driving on a mountain, curvy mountain. And that's actually, all the clips were Google VEO, but yeah, right there. And it's a Husky driving it. But I made it seamless with Sora. So I took all the clips, took them into Sora, and then used blend the function within Sora to blend them together. So Sora didn't technically generate any extension or anything other than just, figuring out how to transition with about a 3 to 4 second overlap between each of the VEO clips, because I think that's a killer feature. Sora, I think, is getting cooked right now as far as their actual model goes, but for their tool sets, their storyboard function, their blend capability, like you see here, nobody's doing that. So it's kind of fun.
I wanted to highlight this because, like, last week when we talked, I actually didn't have access to Sora. They since then opened it up. So Sora, I believe now is open to all the folks. I believe that's what they said. And the tools that you mentioned are just incredible, absolutely incredible. Comparatively, VEO did not release any tools.
No.
VEO's interface.
8-second clips, and it's 4 at a time, which is nice, but it is basic. They are just showing off the model under the hood, which is fine.
It's just the model. You can you can do this I'm feeling lucky thing, which generates pretty cool prompts, I gotta say, but they're like pretty much like the same. And then they don't even store the videos for you, right? You have to just let it download. What we're saying is basically Google shipped the MVPest of MVPs in terms of product. But the model is just physics, understanding, ridiculous, beautiful. And it looks like everybody absolutely took over my feed. And it looks like you would agree, Blaine, right? Like it's just like phenomenal.
Yeah,
phenomenal.
It's really great.
We were waiting for Sora all this time. And like Sora was like the highlight when it came out. And then since Kling cut up, etc., just absolutely great. So interface-wise, Sora is just like the blend features. Sora, I think what I took from our conversation last week is that Sora is not only a video model, it does other stuff, like it's a tool. Not only the UI tool, Sora can blend stuff and
and it's unique tool. There's a lot of the competitors out there that have been doing things like keyframing, a start frame and an end frame, and then trying to figure out the path and using AI to figure out everything in between. And that's when that started happening. I think Luma Labs Dream Machine was the first to do it, and then Kling did it, and then Runway did it. Great feature. The difference here is the blend feature. It's not taking that final frame. It's actually letting you specify a period of time, a few seconds, up to, I think, 16 seconds if you want to do a full overlap between 2 long clips. Mm-hmm. And it's letting you put the weights, like a transition weight, on certain areas during that duration of the clips, right? So when you're overlapping them, it starts with the first clip, and then you can weight it to even to the point where you don't have to do a full transition. You could bring that slider on the right up and just have it have video, that bottom video, have it just impact and influence the top video to some degree. So it's just, the tools like that are just so unbelievably powerful. I don't think we're even scratching the surface. They've got an editing tool that lets you take multiple clips and then prompt in between them. It's the stylization, or I guess the, what do they call it? The remix tool, which is like Runway. I think up until Sora released, Runway probably had the best video to video model where you could input a video and then change its style or to anything else. Sora's is like that. And so those kind of tools aren't anywhere else. But then from a pure video model standpoint, that VEO, man, it's the best that it is right now that we've got.
Yeah, absolutely. Just a week after.
Yeah.
I would just say there's a trend here that I'm noticing. And Blaine, thank you so much for joining and showcasing your stuff. Folks, absolutely follow Blaine for more stuff. I knew absolutely who I want to see coming out with the examples. The steak example was just like, that steak looks so appetizing, man. I noticed, folks, if you remember the Matrix guy who betrayed all of them and talked about the steak, yeah. I saw many of them just post this as a reaction to you.
Yeah, there were so many of those. Everybody was replying with Cypher from the Matrix.
From the Matrix, because this
eating the virtual steak like it was amazing. Because that's the way you felt looking at it. It looks so good.
Because the difference between that steak and Sora steak is pretty much imperceptible. But Sora steak looks kind of like wonky, and this steak looks like a little bit real. Blaine, thank you for joining and talking to us. Feel free to stick with us because we have a bunch of other stuff I'm sure that you're excited about. But I just want to highlight the hotness with which Google is on fire lately. We've seen OpenAI announce advanced voice mode a day before Project Astra. And then we've seen essentially, we've got Gemini 2 real-time come out for free for everyone a day before we all got like advanced voice mode with video. So Google basically gave us the tool before we got the tool from OpenAI and for free in Google AI Studio. And now we've been waiting for Sora pretty much the same time. So Google announced this. Google announced VEO also in Google I/O. I remember this. I didn't have access to it. They didn't go and they didn't open a TikTok account. They didn't blast it off. But yeah, people got access to it. I think on the technical stuff that we didn't mention, VEO right now through the interface only accepts text to video or text to image to video. But they do have image to video via the API, which they didn't open up yet. But the select people and companies via Vertex API can actually go and do image to video. So I've seen some incredible things that people do with consistency. Paige Bailey, for example, one of the Google Developer Experience folks, she did like a whole thing with the images as well. So the tools are coming, and if they're not coming via Google, then via API, folks will build those tools. A shout out to LTX Studio, who are like building like a whole suite of tools, knowing ahead of time that like these APIs will be built in. Google is just consistently showing up, and now with the reasoning model, we'll see how that will perform. But like Google is back, folks, and I'm just waiting for Google to do some open source as well. So today we talked about Google's video model. We already talked about Google's reasoning model. I think that's it for Google for today. Unless they also release other stuff. Let's talk about OpenAI. Let's go back to OpenAI because I think that the other incredible news are from OpenAI. And here I want to bring us back to the big companies' APIs and LLMs era a little bit. I think the biggest news that we've got until the next 30 minutes, I believe, in which we'll also tune into the OpenAI releases as well. The major releases that we've got, obviously, folks, OpenAI's, how should I say, OpenAI Christmas 12 days continued to happen from last week. They don't do it on weekends, which is great for them. It looks like other companies release on weekends, but the releases kept happening through, and I think let's take away from the small stuff that we've got. So let's run through the small stuff that we've got. LDJ, by the way, welcome. Let's say hi to the folks and see that you're here with us. We've got the 1-800 stuff. What do you guys think about this? Did you guys call ChatGPT?
I called it immediately as soon as I saw it.
I just like immediately called it.
Yeah, and something I noticed actually, as soon as I called it, something I wanted to test. And like I called it literally when they first said it on the stream, like before they even talked about the features. But I tried to see if it would recognize it was my phone number, because I do have my phone number attached to my ChatGPT account already. So I asked it, hey, what's my name? Because from memories or even from system prompts and stuff, it should know that. and it said it didn't know my name or anything. It was like it was a completely fresh account. So I was a bit surprised that they didn't have it like automatically connect to the account that your phone number is connected to, but I'm guessing that they'll probably add that in the future. But it was cool nonetheless.
Yeah, I just want to like highlight to the folks who are listening that what exactly we're talking about.
Sure, yeah.
OpenAI released one of the releases yesterday. Was like a funny thing that they say that came from a hack week, that they've built 1-800 ChatGPT, which is a phone number that you can call toll free in the US and Canada. They released it in Canada as well. And the ChatGPT advanced voice mode answers, and you can talk to it. And for free, for 15 minutes, I believe, a month. That's tied to your phone number, which I believe is a super cool addition to the tool set of ChatGPT, specifically because you can do it on a flip phone, if you have one. Nistan, did you happen to already phone from Canada?
No, but I use the voice mode. It's pretty funny. So they deployed on WhatsApp.
And together with this,
back.
but not a voice call. So I tried on WhatsApp. A phone.
Oh, there's no voice call on WhatsApp. Interesting.
Yeah.
Because Levels.io, deployed a voice bot before on WhatsApp. That would be very interesting if they deploy that before Meta does. Meta has voice mode on WhatsApp, and now OpenAI has bought into.
Yep. So they also deployed together with this a WhatsApp bot that you can just chat with, and I believe that that's for free, probably for a meeting or something. So you don't have to have an app. But the cool thing about calling is that you can just call. You just pick up the phone and call ChatGPT. I think it's super cool. Many people started. I said this in the beginning, Wolfram, but like many people on my timeline who get super hyped up and like they want GPT-5 every day. They started like being bummed out about this thing. And I was like, folks. Advanced voice mode that we've been waiting for all this time is now free for everyone. And you don't even have to download an app. You can call it. This is so cool.
May actually open up some new users, because I don't know about you, but I don't use my phone to make calls usually. So it's more like a mobile computer for me.
Yeah.
But there are people who are using it more as a phone. And they may not even know about the ChatGPT app, but you just give them the number and say, if you have a question, you can call that. And of course, you should tell them about what AI does and what you can use it for. But if it has web search, I'm not sure about if the phone version has it. That would be very interesting and very useful in many situations, I think.
Yep. I thought it was cool. But those are small potatoes. Let's talk about other small potatoes that they've announced. There's now a fine-tuning with DPO, direct preference optimization. Fine-tuning, usually you upload pieces of information specific to your domain that you want the model to know. DPO is a little bit different than this. DJ, you want to maybe run through DPO like with 2 sentences? Nistan, one of you?
Sure, yeah. Simply, you could look at it as, yes, like it's either bad or good output, or it's been a while since I worked with 3PO actually, but it's either bad or good, or it's like rating 1 to 5. I'm pretty sure it's the former though.
Yeah, you just give the model pairs of what's good and what's not good. You give it a preference, and you say, instead of just giving piece of information, you also say, here's a good output, but also here's a not good output. So don't do this as well. And we saw that DPO, the preference optimization, actually helps model perform better on fine tunes. So now you can do this directly in OpenAI. But we're getting to the meat of the thing. So let's talk about the meat of the thing. OpenAI did a mini dev day. So developers who are listening to the show, listen in, because I think this is for you. This is like the best things since I think the last dev day. On the mini dev day, they announced a few things. Let's run through them because I think those are incredible. Let me open this up. First of all, OpenAI announced a new O1 model. O1 2024 1217. So this model of O1 is a new model that's been fine-tuned even more since the O1 model that was released 2 weeks ago. They've confirmed this. They also had like developers continue confirming this. This model, let me actually pull up the tweet of mine that I had a live tweet during the show. Let me see if I can pull this up. Come on, I tweet a lot. Oh, there we go. Yeah. So first of all, O1 in the API is out of preview, so an actual full API. It now supports function calling, so many people have been waiting for this. You can now have reasoning with function calling. You have it reason and then execute some stuff. Now we get structured outputs with O1, so you can ask it for JSON structured outputs specifically. This we're going to talk about. No longer system messages. They have renamed system messages to developer messages. So now you will use developer messages to steer those models. It's not that scary. It's not a breaking change. So if you guys know how an API looks, do I have a way to show you this super quick? Do I have it? I think I have it somewhere. Never mind. Yeah, like this. So if you have a standard messages like format, you used to have role system. Since now it's going to be a role developer. And the reason for this is very interesting. They cited that they want the model to better know who the instructions are coming from. This is the literal announcement from the team. I found this incredible. I just want to talk about this for super quick. OpenAI developer said that the reason for this change is so that the model that the API is going to will know better from whom the instructions are coming from. The reason I'm pausing on this is because it's just like absolutely interesting to me that we are now taking into account the model's preferences and the model understanding who writes those messages in the API. It's just like incredible. OpenAI will change it back and forth from system messages to developer messages and vice versa for you. So if you still write system role, they will switch it to developer role for O1. So it's not a breaking change. It's backwards compatible and forwards compatible. But because OpenAI created system messages and now everywhere else is system messages. And this is part of their hierarchy instruction. And I think it's very good to align with, because I think that models are learning, and the way OpenAI is training those models is first the instructions that OpenAI gives it during their kind of prompt engineering, and then the developer, and then the user, etc., and then the functions. So this hierarchy is very important.
That was part of the specs they announced back in May, where they were doing the model spec preview, and now they finally made those changes.
Yeah. The additional thing that I wanted to highlight super quick is this one. There's a new parameter in the API that's called reasoning effort. Reasoning effort is what I was waiting for all this time. I was waiting for this in the UI. You guys remember, I asked Pharrell about this. LDJ remember about this as well. I wanted this knob. I wanted the knob to think harder, damn it. And finally we have this knob. It's called reasoning effort. Unfortunately, not unfortunately, but like it makes sense. For now, for OpenAI, this knob is called reasoning effort. You're in control of 3 ways for it to think: low, medium, and hard. We don't know exactly what they mean, but reasoning effort, low, medium, and hard, you can pass those to O1 and it will think lower or medium or harder. Basically, this is basically more tokens of thinking. This sounds similar to O1 Pro Mode, but it was confirmed by many folks in OpenAI that that's not how Pro Mode works. If you guys remember, again, back 2 weeks ago, OpenAI releases Pro Mode for Pro tier for $200 a month, and they say that O1 with Pro Mode outperforms O1 regular O1. Many people, by the way, in my feed are saying that O1 with Pro Mode is just an incredible model. Many people say this. I don't know, folks on stage, if you've paid the $200. I haven't yet, but I'm hearing from multiple folks. And if folks in the audience have paid and want to come up and talk to me about this, send me a DM. I would love to hear your direct experiences with it and why it's so amazing. But basically, that's what I'm hearing. What I want to highlight is O1 Pro Mode is not just O1 with reasoning effort high. It's not. It's been confirmed by the team that it's something else. It's a different system. There's also lower latency. So O1, the new one, is using 60% fewer reasoning tokens. There's also vision. You can now send images to O1 for science and manufacturing as well. So super cool update. I think it's very, very, very big deal for O1 in the API, and absolutely dope for developers. This is only one of the things they released in the mini dev day. We also can talk about WebRTC, and maybe we'll invite our friend Quinn here. I want to pause here, and no, we have somebody who used Pro Mode a lot. Maybe you can invite somebody. But I want to pause here for this week's Buzz Super Geek because I think it's very, very close. So if you guys will indulge me here, because I think it's O1 related, and we've been at this for an hour and 10 minutes. Yeah, I think it's a good time for a quick this week's Buzz. What do you guys think? Ooh, let me pause, remove this. Now that we've got O1, how do we know that we've got the one in the API? And we've got the three modes. How do we actually know if this is going to be better for my application or worse for my application? And here I have to remind you guys that I work at Weights and Biases, and we build this tool called Weave, and Weave is built specifically for this. Weave is built for the purpose of you knowing whether or not you can just drop in, replace O1 with your existing model and know how it will perform via evaluation. So let me show you what I did. But for now, I'll just like drop into this week's buzz. A reminder from my co-host that this is a quick break for you if you want to take this break, super quick, and then we'll be back in like maybe 3 minutes. I'm not going to take this long this time. So let me just do this week's buzz because I just love the sound. So as I just said, O1 was released with this new feature called reasoning effort. Reasoning effort means that you can ask O1 to reason low, medium, and hard. What does it mean? Actually, we don't know. OpenAI doesn't really tell us what's behind the scenes, and we need to test this and evaluate this. One of the main issues with applications on production, with LLM on production, is exactly those things that we don't know. We don't know how the things operate in temperature 0, temperature 1. We don't know how they will operate with multiple runs, for example. And the tool that I'm working on and promoting, called Weave for Weights and Biases, is exactly built for this purpose. So I want to highlight super quick the two things that we're building to help you do this as an AI developer. Those help when you have APIs, for example. Here you can see, for those who are looking and for those who are not looking, who are just listening, I'll just explain what I'm looking at. I've built a quick evaluation between the 3 modes of the reasoning effort, low, medium, and high, and I just ran an evaluation on a simple bench. So if you guys have been following ThursdAI for a while, you guys know that we love Simple Bench. We're actually proud sponsors of Simple Bench. Simple Bench right now leaderboard is O1 Preview is the leading model on here. We're waiting for Simple Bench to recalculate. It's a held back benchmark. The actual questions on Simple Bench are not shown to the models. Right now, O1 Preview is leading it with 41%. I've taken the 10 samples that they have open for Simple Bench, and I just ran them through O1 with different difficulties, with the reasoning effort low, medium, and high. And I ran them to an evaluation code. This evaluation code was super simple for me to run. This is how it looks like. I just installed Weave. I imported Weave. I initiated it, the Weave init, and that's it. And then I run this. I loaded the data set of those questions, Simple Bench sample. That's it. And I just ran this evaluation loop. It's very simple. It's very, very low code. Can I tell you guys a secret, like super quick? On the left, you can see how I did this. I added the documentation for our evaluation in Cursor, and I just literally told it, hey, do this thing for me, and Cursor did it in one shot. This is how we program right now. Absolutely like this. I ran it and it did it in one shot. So you don't even have to write this code yourself. But basically, I had to tweak literally just one thing. It was incredible. But basically, what I wanted to show you is why this is so cool is that now I have a dashboard that compares between, if I were to choose for my task for this specific Simple Bench reasoning between reasoning effort low, medium, and hard, you can see the differences visually. So you can see that model latency is significantly longer. Reasoning effort high thinks for like 3 times as long as reasoning effort low. So you can see the actual differences visually. You can see that model latency is 326 seconds and reasoning effort low is 77 seconds. And also you can see the total tokens. Total tokens is 79,000 tokens. It thinks for so long, and the reasoning effort low thinks for lower. And on the accuracy, you can see that the accuracy is pretty much the same. These questions are hard. So on the 10 questions that I have, on reasoning effort low answers 4.5 of them, and the reasoning medium and high answers half of them correctly. I'm just showing you a little bit of the interface. You can see the question itself, you can see the options here, and you can run through the questions. One feature I want to highlight is because these models are non-deterministic still, the temperature feature is not available on O1. O1 does not accept temperature. You can see, I ran it with 3 times. So I ran it with trials, we call them trials. So in our evaluations, you can ask for like more than 1 try for each question. So you can see O1, for example, low effort on this question, it answered 1 time correct, 1 time incorrect, 1 time correct. If we go back and we actually see how long it took, you can see how much it cost me. So super quick, on the high effort, it cost me 78,000 tokens, cost me almost $5 to run. And it was 33 minutes. On the medium effort, it cost me $3 to run, it was 7 minutes. And on the low effort, it cost me 34,000 tokens to run, $1.80, and it cost me 4 minutes or so to run. So you can see all these things running together. One last thing I want to show you super quick is that we have a playground. And I'm really excited about this playground thing. Playground means that you can go into any trace, which we had with O1, and you can see the question itself right here. Choose the correct option from the list of provided. You can see the conversation. You can dive deep into, and you can see the conversation that I had with O1. In this case, it's O1 with the effort low. And you can see Beth plays a whole ice cubes. This is the ice cube question. It's amazing that I just landed on the question that we always talk about on ThursdAI. And you can see that it provided the right responses B, so it answered correctly. And so I can hit this button called Try and Playground, and we'll land is this new, hopefully this will work for me, we'll land this new place called Playground in the weights and biases where I can replay this exact question. And you can see we already support the OpenAI O1 2024 1217. I believe that this may not work because I have my own keys. So actually, we'll try this. Yeah, this may not work because I have my own keys, and I personally don't have access to O1, only via weights and biases key, but we'll see. We'll run this and see. But basically, the whole point of the playground is you'd be able to retry whatever agent you have, whatever application you have on production, you'd be able to retry from that point on. No, it actually did work. Look, we got B. And you'd be able to change the developer message or the system message and then retry with that. So you'd be able to choose, instead of choose the correct option from this provided, and give me an emoji celebrating the answer, for example. You'd be able to change the developer system message and then retry your answer super quick. Yeah, I definitely have a unknown parameter here. And you'd be able to replay this whole thing within the playground without going back to your code, which I think is super, super cool. And this is very good for iterating on your prompts. This was a super quick showing you, this week's box to show you that when these new models release, it's very convenient that you have some sort of evaluation on your code to be able to know whether or not your exact application on production runs and how it performs on your code. In this case, it's a very specific one. With this, I think this was this week's buzz. Let's go back to our show because very close, OpenAI is going to announce something else. Let's go back to our show. Righty, we are back, and with 7 minutes more, we're back to we're back. Wolfram, I wanted to hear from you a comment on what I just showed because I saw a comment from you and maybe a reaction.
Okay, yeah. So I don't want to. What do you say? I want
chill too hard.
Yeah. So just I liked seeing how the tools are used in the tutorial stuff. So that was really interesting because I haven't been using Won'tBe, also weights and biases yet, but it's been on my to-do list, and seeing you use it, that's great. So I'm moving it up higher on my to-do list.
Hell yeah, I'd love to hear that. This is the
kind of a tutorial, so that is great. So hands-on, real use cases, not just some advertisements or stuff, but really that's the problem. That's how you solve it with the tools. I love seeing such stuff.
Awesome. Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm trying to not just shove features down people's throats and literally just show. I really wanted to see what's the difference and how long it takes. The version, Think Hard, was 33 minutes. It thought for a long time, but I ran it for 3 times. Yeah, LDJ, go ahead. And then we're going to probably live stream the other one.
Yeah, so something with the new O1 API, the ArcAGI people just announced, I think it was yesterday, scores for it. And I believe it was 32% for the high reasoning effort, about 31% for the medium, and then something around 25% for the low. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I got it perfectly. Okay. And for reference, O1 Preview scored 18%, and Cloud 3.5 Sonnet also scored, I think, about 18-17%, something around there. And then GPT-4o and Gemini, they score like 5%. So these are pretty big increases that we're seeing over time. And I think,
just for folks who are listening, for context, ArcAGI is a semi-private evaluation, 100 tasks. They're also visual, I believe, right? They're not only just textual, and they're hard. They're hard, man. I don't know if I can solve any of them like myself. They're definitely hard. O1 preview was 21% if I remember correctly. I went and checked, but we can double check. Yeah, GPT-4 is like very low there. Those are like very hard reasoning tasks. You can see the difference here between low and high reasoning effort. You can see 25 on low, 25% on low to 32% on high. So you can actually see when you give this model more time, or like more time to think. I don't know, like more compute, more test time compute. Yeah, it doesn't work as well on. It doesn't generalize as well on the simple bench task that I ran, but for Arc, it's a significant jump.
Yeah. And I think something to note with the description of semi-private, the reason why they call it that is it's technically as private as any other benchmark that you would call a private benchmark. But since it's technically exposed to the APIs of these model makers, then they feel that obligation to add that semi-private descriptor, just so people know that technically if the labs really wanted to, they do have access to the questions in some way through that. But they're not available on the internet at all.
Yep.
Just one thing. So I've been doing benchmarks and I've been known as the vibes guy. I have the feeling as well. So I have started doing some tests and used it at work. And I can say that O1 is now a step better than Sonnet. I was always a big Cloud fan and still am and use it most of the time. You don't need O1 for every task.
Yeah.
But I've had some tasks that every other model I've ever tried it with has failed and O1 did it and it did it well. For me now, that is really the best model I can use for some hard work stuff. Yeah, that is not just a benchmark, but also real work.
And you didn't get the $200 Pro one, right?
Not yet, no.
Okay, all right. So we're gonna tune into the 12 days of OpenAI in 1 minute. All right, there we go. OpenAI.
I'm Kevin Wheel. I lead product at OpenAI. All right, you might have noticed we've been putting a lot of effort into our desktop apps. So we launched our Mac desktop app about 6 months ago. We launched our Windows desktop app just a couple months ago.
You guys can hear this, right?
And as our models get increasingly powerful, ChatGPT will more and more become agentic. And that means we'll go beyond just questions and answers. ChatGPT will begin doing things for you.
Hi, I'm John Nastos, and I work on the ChatGPT desktop team.
My name is Justin Rushing, and I also work on the ChatGPT desktop. We've got a lot to show you today. So when I click on this button, I'm going to see all of the apps that are currently running on my computer that ChatGPT can work with. Important note, until you select one of these, we will never look at the contents of another app. So you are always fully in control over what you're sharing with ChatGPT. So to get started, I'm going to click on Warp. And at this time, huge shout out to the Warp team for all of their help in getting this going. When we first announced working with apps, we did not have support for Warp. And it was, I think, literally the first request was adding support. Huge shout out to the team. They worked really hard to help us get it ready for today. Thank you. I'm going to get started by saying, write a command to get the number of commits per day over the past 2 months.
Yeah. That's great. While it thinks about this, do you want to talk a little bit about what the model is actually seeing? Is it just what we see on the screen, or is it something more?
Great question. An easy way to do this would be to just grab a screenshot and let Vision do the rest. But we actually can reach into the application to grab off-screen content as well. And these results will contain everything here, not just what you see on screen.
Yeah. But it's thinking hard about this. It might be the holiday-themed part.
I know. Oh, okay.
There it is.
All right, folks, I'm going to pause this here because I'm not sure what we're looking at. The work with apps feature is new, but just new apps. That's what we're getting. Yeah, I'm going to pause this here. Let's continue on the show, and we'll continue forward. And then if anything else drops, then folks hopefully will let us know. Because I think we have other breaking news, which I think are more important and pertinent to our show. And OpenAI, I think there's other news from OpenAI that are better than this. Although, I will say, Let me pause the screen here. I will say that, remember how they said warp was the first request? I'm pretty sure that I was the one who requested warp. I'll go and check, but I'm pretty sure they also tagged the warp team because I work with warp. Warp is one of the best terminals that I get to work with. Recently, they got into some hot water because our friend Swix saw how much, how should I say, the terminal memory they use. But warp is definitely a terminal that you want to use. The interesting thing is, warp kind of does what they just showed. This is like warp has AI features built in, and it does what they just showed. There's still a bunch of show left, folks. What else did they announce on? I was waiting for them to tell me that the ChatGPT Mac app can see my screen. That's what I want. The work with apps, the benefit with work at apps is what he actually saw. What he said is it can see not only the screen, it can see the context. That's actually sometimes a little bit better because it can understand like what I'm working on VS Code and Cursor. I think they've added Cursor since then. If you guys remember on ThursdAI, we actually tested this on the fly when it just came. You guys remember this was like one of our first video transmissions. We actually saw this live and I tested this live. It was super cool. All right, let's Lentus, welcome to the stage, by the way. So you guys want to tell the folks who are listening what GitHub GG is a project that you both are working at and uses Gemini 2?
Yeah, so essentially what we realized is that we have a flow where I'm constantly copying, pasting full repos from one app to another or one model to another. And so we're just like building the glue here. Now I've got like a much bigger vision for this and things behind it, but I'll focus on this at the moment. This is just a wedge, but this is giving us full context of GitHub repos so we can summarize on it, pull out headers for functions and stop hallucinations on Cursor and Claude and O1 and things like this. But essentially, Nistan shipped this yesterday, and we are so like happy about it.
Yeah. Basically, you just go on any on any person's GitHub. We could go
so the URL is GitHub.gg.
Yep.
And then you just pass the URL of a regular GitHub app.
Yeah.
GitHub URL.
So you go to
You go to any person's GitHub, and then you just change it to .gg, and it's literally any GitHub, and it will just grab all the files you can now just copy paste all of this, and then you can go to Gemini if you want, and you can just dump it in as a one-shot prompt. It's a pretty big. Now it's not going to take it because it's a lot longer.
Flash.
Yeah, you need to switch to this one because
so you just like casually copied 650,000
tokens. Yeah.
Easy.
Yeah, and
I think we processed.
It can take a while. So
yeah,
we're trying to measure it. We were able to get it on our own infra down to 9 minutes. It takes Gemini 10 minutes, but I don't know, one shot an app to make. I don't know. You guys tell me something.
Nistan, let me ask you a question. What's the benefit of grabbing a whole repo in context? Just to build...
To make Alex a whole repo for Christmas.
To get rid of Python. We're going to rewrite everything in typed languages.
It's just a lot better. If you use RAG, and I deployed a RAG system, it's just bad. Like after the code base, like if it's a small project, it's going to be a pretty small code base. Cursor is going to do a pretty good job. After the project gets of a certain size, it just becomes like bad. And so the benefit of it is that you can get the whole repo all at once, and you can just dump it into any model you want. So you can go back to Gemini and say, I don't know.
By any model you want, you mean Gemini only, because only Gemini supports above 200,000 tokens.
Yeah, but other repos, for example, mine, where is it? GitHub.gg /
Oh yeah, there's smaller ones.
There are much smaller ones, and you can, for example, this one is 50,000, and you can just dump this one into Sonnet. It's okay. I don't mind being ghosted, and you can just say, hey, analyze this repo, just in any chat. Nice. And so the benefit is you just get higher quality output. That's
all right, folks. If you are coding with models that are not connected to like Cursor, like O1 Pro mode, for example, that we just talked about, or other ones like Gemini 2.0 experimental, whatever, and you're copying back and forth. This is a tool for you, in addition to some other tools by our own Nistin and Lentos. Thank you guys for showing up. And Lentos, thanks for coming and talking about O1 Pro mode. We're going to move on because still a bunch of other stuff to talk about. Feel free to stick around. We want to say hi to another friend of ours. Hey, Quinn. Welcome, Quindla Haltman Kramer, joining us again to talk about the other thing that OpenAI just announced, which is WebRTC, which we briefly mentioned before, and some other audio stuff. Let me first talk about the announcements and then chat about what they mean super quick. So OpenAI in the mini dev day. Oh, I'm getting some feedback from someone here, probably from the space. OpenAI during the mini dev day announcement day, which I think was one of the biggest this week. Also, in addition to announcing O1, OpenAI announced some updates to the real-time audio for developers. Some of the updates were very exciting for us, namely, they dropped the price again by 60%. So not only did they already drop the price before by doing caching, they now dropped the price by additional 60% because the main complaint that we had was pricing. We complained there was like prohibitively priced to do any real-time stuff. In addition to this, they also announced that GPT-4o Mini is coming to real-time API as well, and that's going to be 10x cheaper. And then this is going to be like even cheaper to stream as well. They also announced an incredible support for WebRTC by the creator of WebRTC protocol, Justin Umberti, I believe. And to give us a little bit more context around all this, we have Quinn, our friend who has a, maybe I'll let you to introduce like all of this, but Quinn is the maintainer and creator of PipeCat, the open source library that lets you connect all of these pieces together very simply, and already has a bunch of examples of how to do this. And obviously we talked when real-time API dropped, and was very, very helpful to do the calculations together as well. Quinn, welcome to the show. Great to have you here week after week. It's like you and Blaine come together week after week. What do you make of this WebRTC thing, man?
2025 is going to be the future of real-time multimodal. It's hard to argue with that. I love seeing anything related to low-level networking, WebRTC stuff. And we should give a shout out. In addition to Justin, OpenAI made another really great hire from the WebRTC world, Sean Dubois, who's the creator of the Pion Go WebRTC framework and a bunch of other stuff. And the way they implemented the WebRTC stuff depends on a new piece of the WebRTC standard that Sean was really instrumental in getting. Standards are really hard, right? Sean got a whole bunch of momentum behind this standard. It's called WIP and WEP, and it's a way of setting up a WebRTC connection that is, at least in principle, works across a lot of different kinds of infrastructure. One of the drawbacks of WebRTC since the very beginning has been that because you have to build a bunch of stuff that's infrastructure specific, there's not a lot of compatibility between WebRTC services. WIP and WEP is a step towards making it possible for kind of any client to connect to any WebRTC server. There's more work to do to get all the way there, but I think it's really great that OpenAI is leaning into some compatibility, at least looking towards the future, so that more of us could write more software that connects to more servers. And that's why they showed those little sort of 18 lines of JavaScript samples to get up and running in WebRTC with the real-time API. They were able to give you kind of pretty simple code, even though WebRTC is like a super complicated standard with a huge kind of surface area of stuff that you normally have to implement. The flip side of that is that I still am Team SDK. I think for developers to succeed with something as complicated as WebRTC, you really ultimately need to give people SDKs. And I'm sure OpenAI is on that path, but especially on mobile, on the web too, but especially on mobile, you really have to give people like a library that they can hook into with like developer friendly APIs for WebRTC to work. So I think in 2025, we're going to see a bunch of WebRTC releases from a bunch of players. And those are probably going to include SDKs. And I should plug PipeCat because we've got open source SDKs, the community maintained vendor neutral open source SDKs that have WebRTC and WebSocket support for this real-time stuff and for the new Gemini multimodal live stuff.
Yep. I really liked the additional thing that they released with ephemeral tokens. Could you briefly mention this super quick? Because WebRTC specifically is built for the web. And one of the things that you needed before is to have a server side and do all kinds of authentication things. And server side obviously protects your tokens. Now, and I think I saw Simon Wilson build like a very simple web page. Now they came up with like a ephemeral token thing that now from a web application you can start like streaming live. And that's super cool. Did you mention ephemeral tokens?
So if you're a web developer, you're familiar with this idea that you've got API keys. You probably have to hit your server with your user's own auth information so that you keep the API keys for external services you use on the server, because you never want API keys on the client, because that would be a leak of an API key and then anybody could use your API key. So OpenAI wanted to avoid making developers have a server just to get some kind of app specific auth. So they built this really nice ephemeral token thing where you can hit OpenAI's API, get an ephemeral token, and then you can connect to the real time from the web. There's always like a turtles all the way down problem here though. What's the API key you use to get the ephemeral token? We actually have a lot of arguments about this at Daily, the company where I work that Pipecast came out of, because we often try to figure out where that boundary is. Like, how do you give people ephemeral tokens that are super easy and secure and embed like a bunch of auth preferences and things like that? I think it's really valuable that OpenAI gave you this ephemeral token thing so you don't have to fully proxy all of the real-time data. You're still going to have to get the ephemeral token from somewhere. Though, right? You're going to have some request to get that ephemeral token.
But that's significantly less like thinner like server client thing than doing like the whole proxying thing.
100%. 100%.
That's 3 lines of code and you can drop it in like a Cloudflare worker and you'll be done with this whole thing.
Why price? So
yeah, let's talk about pricing.
It's a really, really big deal to keep pushing the price down here. Gemini Multimodal Live is free for now. While it's in preview. And I think the biggest single question I've gotten about Gemini Multimodal Live is the pricing going to be as good as like we're used to from Google, or is this too hard a problem from a pricing perspective?
I think we were on the same call together, I think, where we asked this.
Exactly. We were on one. Yeah. And it's like a big question, right? And there's like at least 3 reasons pricing is hard for this stuff. One is you're optimizing for latency instead of throughput. So if you've done anything like host VLM or Olama yourself, you know, like there are knobs you can turn where you're either batching or you're optimizing for latency. So that pushes the price up. The second thing is that audio tokens are just big. So if you're keeping the whole audio context, then you're processing a lot of tokens. And the third thing is that the conversation gets bigger non-linearly. Behind the scenes, these APIs are actually doing what we've all been doing when we build these conversational apps for a long time, which is you're sending the whole context again. You're like collecting the context so it gets bigger. So every inference, you send a bigger context gets bigger again. Then you send the even bigger context. Then the context gets bigger again. So it's like a non-linear increase. So when this dropped, it was like $20 an hour or more.
Yeah.
And now they've reduced it by 6 or 8 or 10 times, I think, depending on exactly what assumptions you make. And they're saying 10 times cheaper again. It really opens up more use cases.
We need to do the calculation again. This is the calculation gets based on assumption. It gets a little unwieldy, but yeah.
We've got that spreadsheet. I didn't have time to do it yesterday, but we should like update that spreadsheet. I agree. The pricing spreadsheet.
I would say if there is a O1 Pro level task, it's drop all this info there and say, hey, build me the calculation and hope it's right. All right, I think that Quinn, thanks for always so much for coming up and breaking this down for us, folks. Definitely give Quinn a follow and definitely Pipecat a try if you want to play around with some of these technologies. There's very easy to get started tutorials in Pipecat to try with all these things, including the Gemini stuff and this stuff. And also, just to mention briefly, because we don't have that much time to go into this, the stuff that you can, if you don't want to go full advanced voice mode, you can use other stuff like 11 Labs' new Flash model that is very, very fast. And when I think last time you said that many folks don't want to do end-to-end models like advanced voice mode, they want to do TTS and on the one side and Whisper or something on the first side. And the 11 Labs' new Flash model is now doing 75 milliseconds generation of audio. And I actually tried it. It's like really, really fast. It's quite incredible, even with my own voice on there that I trained. So that's also there for a shout out to 11 Labs with like super fast generation as well. And yeah, I think also On the other real-time thing, Wolfram, you mentioned Moonshine. We can show off Moonshine, but we're almost at 2 hours. And I think the last thing that I want to show for these 2 hours, the last thing is Genesis. So I think let's focus on Genesis, because Genesis is like mind-blowing. Although they didn't release the stuff that Genesis showed, but I think we have to show the video of Genesis before we drop off this, because this is the benefit of our format. So folks, yes, just before Genesis, the highlight that I wanted to show, and also breaking news, is there's the whole area of large language models, but there's also small models that are significantly more performant and are used as the backbone of kind of the ML industry, called BERT and different BERT models. Folks from Answer.ai, do you guys know maybe Jeremy Howard? They just said that they, sorry, I'm talking while I'm looking this up. They just said that they've broken this area, the kind of like retrained BERT with modern BERT, and I think this is a huge deal. LDJ, maybe back me up here as well, but I want to show this and talk about this. This is like definitely in the area of breaking news for smaller models. I'll give one example of why from Weights and Biases, but shout out to Answer.ai and Jeremy Howard and folks. 2 new models like BERT, but modern BERT. This is not Gen AI thing. This is a he's like not some hypey Gen AI thing. These models are for fine-tuning for specific tasks. And they will perform extremely fast, like milliseconds per token. So if you guys can see this chart, there are other models like Roberta and like BERT base, but you can see that like modern BERT base is running less than BERT base, like in the 5 milliseconds per token runtime, and modern BERT large runs around like 20 milliseconds per token. They say that they talk about the sizes for these. You guys know that we're talking for LLMs, we're talking about like 3 billion parameters is a small model, right? Like 13 billion parameters can run on the MacBook. We're talking about 139 million parameters and 395 million parameters. Those are tiny models that we can run like very fast on like even CPUs. These models for classification, for retrieval, for like all kinds of different things. But by the way, friend of the pod, Benjamin is working on there. We should bring Benjamin next time to chat about this and what this means. I will give you one example from our specific use case. We will still talk about guardrails, but if you guys remember a couple of weeks ago, we chatted about guardrails that we've fine-tuned for Weave. We chatted with Shamik. When our team started, let me pause the screen. When our team started like building guardrails and fine-tuning guardrails, we started obviously with like different like Quen models for 3 billion parameters. Quickly, we noticed that using LLMs for guardrails makes no technical sense because of the delay. When you're building guardrails, you want to immediately pause something. Generative AI models, LLMs, are not fit for guardrails specifically. And then the team found and started fine-tuning BERT models, and those are the models that you want. And something like modern BERT models are the models that you want. So this is like a very big release in this world. Shout out to Answer.ai for releasing this, and hopefully we'll bring Benjamin maybe next week to chat about this like huge release. So shout out. I'll actually do a clap sound for them. Do I have reactions? We'll do reactions. Yeah, I have reactions. Let's see if this works. Yeah, this works. Yes. Applause. All right, folks. Absolutely the last thing. If you're on Space, I recommend that you go on the YouTube link or the X link for this one. I really recommend, because this is the last thing. If you folks here on Space with us and you haven't seen Genesis, now you're going to enjoy this. Let me go and find Genesis. So I will say that this is absolutely broke the internet yesterday. This was just like absolutely mind-blowing. I should present this with sound, because like it's way better with sound. So let me share my screen with sound. Yeah, I'm gonna do it here. Okay. Now the OpenAI stuff. Give me a second. And this is gonna be here. All right. Wolfram, can you see this? And hear sound?
Yeah, works.
And now on full screen works?
Yeah.
Meanwhile, I'll tell you what this is. 4D physical world. Genesis is a research project that's a generative physics engine supposedly can do all of these things. And it's fully open source. Pretty much here my mind broke at this point. And here, what sets Genesis apart from the stuff that we saw from VEO and from Sora is that this is a physics engine and not a generative video model that tries to simulate physics. This is a physics engine with like rules. But it's a generative, supposedly generative physics engine that you can like ask to do stuff. So this GS generates with the text. There's some sort of model that you can like talk to and create some stuff. And it just looks absolutely incredible. And the whole point is to be able to let robotics train in these environments that are physics-based and then transfer their learnings from a simulated environment into physical environment, what they call sim to real. So like this dog, for example, walks inside a simulated environment, and then the same kind of like dog can walk in the physical environment like this. And then they compare to like existing technologies like Isaac Gym and other ones. The collaboration between MIT and NVIDIA, just like an incredible amount of universities work on this, and they released it in open source. Now, what they didn't release, obviously, this looks absolutely incredible. Just like absolutely astonishingly incredible. What they didn't release though is this generative function. Everybody rushed to download this open source yesterday. And yeah, Wolfram, you highlighted the right thing. They said, gradually roll out access to our generative framework in the near future. The generative piece of this, where you type and all of this beautiful magic happens, like Sora, like VEO, was not released. The physics engine itself was released, and physics engine like Unreal and like all of those engines, that was released. And folks did play with it, so that was quite incredible on its own, and looks like it was super fast as well. And you can train robotics on RTX 4090. So like very incredible effort still. But like the highlight of this is obviously what we saw, like generated drop that runs down the Heineken beer. That was just like absolutely mind blowing. I really wanted to show you guys this because this was definitely broke the internet's brain there for a second yesterday, because it just looks like we can generate reality with this like one thing. Eventually it didn't live up to the hype eventually, but for a second there, this looks like we got VEO in the beginning of the week, and then we got like reality generator at the end of the week. Not quite. I think we did a good job running through almost all of it. Okay, I think with this, I'll just end with the fact that, folks, this is a pre-Christmas show, and I wanted to tell you guys that if you are celebrating Christmas, I do. It's one of the best holidays that I enjoy with my kids, that I really want to tell you happy holidays, Merry Christmas to those who celebrate. Very special time. Enjoy your holidays. We will be back on next week. Hopefully, OpenAI will also be sending other things as well. I'm specifically waiting for one specific thing, but enjoy this time off. Enjoy playing. Hopefully, some time off, enjoying some of the new things we get. The problem with getting all of these things is that we don't have time to play with them too much. Hopefully now with the time off a little bit, we'll be able to play with some of these things. If you missed any part of the show, because some drops in technology, WebRTC drops, whatever, it doesn't matter, the show will be fully uploaded to ThursdAI.news podcast, wherever you go, and YouTube channel as well. As always, we'll be posting this later today, as always as well. I really want to thank everybody who came to the show and listened through Spaces, LinkedIn, YouTube, and X, and everywhere else. My co-host here, Wolfram, Nistan, LDJ, and joining and repeating guests, Quinn and Blaine Brown and Lentos joined us as well. And shout out to all of you who tune in and listen. I see Miser, I see Morgan, I see Alex, I see like a bunch of other folks on the Twitter space. I want to add a big thank you to Weave, the co-host from Weights and Biases, who let us do the show every week and bring you the latest and greatest, so we stay up to date, so you don't have to. It's been an incredible, yet another incredible week. Doesn't seem like it's slowing down, only seems like it's speeding up, but hopefully we're able to cover this from week to week. So thank you everyone for joining, and we'll see you here next week. Bye bye. Cheers.
Happy holidays. Bye bye.
Happy holidays. Bye bye.
Thanks, everyone.